Yo, what's up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well in your corner of the world. Man, really excited. We just passed the halfway mark for the Garbology album. And yo, it's shout out to the subscribers, man, because you guys have not only put me on new music, but also encouraged me to just dive deeper into Aesop Rock. We did Mystery Fish. That was awesome. And I was like, man, this is the most intense, just dense most lyrical person I think I've ever broken down. Even someone like Black Thought, there could be political references or pop cultural references, but I've never dealt with something so abstract where we're trying to really decipher what it means to us, right? And this is my interpretation. It's by no means I don't know if anybody can really say they know definitively what he is discussing. But it means something different when someone references something. It really depends on your life experience, and I think that's kind of it's like a choose your own adventure book, but with rhymes, right? Because based on your own interpretation, it can take you down another path. I might think Mystery Fish is about something else. I think that one was not as complex as like Daylight. But after we did Kirby, and then we just dove right into Garbology. I think the only thing we didn't do off Garbology was the first track one, which seemed more or less like an intro called The Only Picture. But when we did Jazz Hands and then Wolf Piss, people were like, yo, you're right there, bro. Just do it. So now we're at track 8. This is one called More Cycles. There's only 14 tracks on Garbology. So really excited to get into this one. And again, this is my interpretation. If you guys can help me out in any way, definitely the thing that always catches me up is the religious references. For those of them that have been following the channel, my mom didn't tell me about her political affiliation or her religious beliefs when I was growing up. She wanted me to explore that on my own when I became of age. And I love her for that, but it also made me a little bit ignorant on religion. I've studied other things and I have a lot of life experience, which translates a lot to these breakdowns. But when it's something religious, unless it's a very, it can easily go over my head. So if you catch anything like that, feel free to let me know with anything. I love the input and even going back, I love After Daylight, just watching it or listening to it again. It's like, oh, how did I miss that? Or somebody leaves a comment, I'm like, that makes more sense, especially when the lyric videos are just completely off, and I have no clue because this is my first time listening, so it's a reaction. But we're trying to do a breakdown as well. It might be easier to break this down after I've heard it, 5 or 10 times. But I kind of like just experiencing it and listening to it as somebody would the first time they were opening up the CD or the vinyl, that old school feeling. But yo, let's get right into this. Does it say Mo or did I hope it's not a jacked up lyric track. I'll back out and just start a new one if it is. But yo, this is More Cycles. I want to hear the sound quality. The thing that attracted me to this one is it sounds good. Is there gonna be a bass drop? It almost sounds like Dracula or something. Ah, ah, ah. And then a little. Or is that a. Ooh. Beans, no compass. Add another bug to the goggles. Vigilante city watch, dipping through the gigawatts. No mistaken sticks. So, hold on, let's run that back. What did he say? Canteen, can of beans, no compass. Sounds like he's out on the road somewhere, right? Like the dude that doesn't need much. Then you got a canteen. You normally think of somebody who's going to be needing water, right? They're traveling across a desert. They're making a voyage. They need a canteen so they can stay hydrated. Can of beans means you're out in the elements, right? A can of beans is something that lasts for a very long time, but it's also very easy to cook if you're camping, right? You could just open up the can with a can opener and you could actually heat the can up. Or if you just have a basic pan, it's like something that you can keep for exposed, right? It doesn't have to be refrigerated. Really easy to do. no compass means he's lost, right? Wherever he is, he's using something else to guide him. It could be the stars, right? We heard that reference before. So let's check it out, right? He said, add another bug to the goggles, right? When your bugs are hitting you, you're either on a bike, and we could tell by the more cycles. We don't know if it's a scooter, if it's a motorcycle, or I don't know if it's like a bicycle or something that's more powerful. But when a bug is hitting your goggles, you're normally traveling, you're on the open road, you got to watch out because if you bugs that get in your mouth or so, right? Yeah, let's let it ride. It's kind of funny he said gigawatts too. Let me hear how he's said. Is that a reference to Back to the Future? I like how he just comes into it. Was that a bass guitar too?
Canteen, can of beans, no compass. Add another bug to the goggles. Vigilante city watch, dipping through the gigawatts. Known for shaking sticks and playing chicken with the will of God. It's not a drill, it's a village.
I love the. He just sounds pissed, right? When you hear it, when I heard some of the other songs, there's a flow that he has, but when he attacks something like this, I kind of like. Kind of reminds me of not that his music's not hip hop, but I do think that it's a subcategory of its own. But I love his flow. It doesn't just change, and it's not his cadence. It's not, there's something like his approach to certain songs is very different, and I like that. You don't get that from a lot of artists. But listen to what he said in the beginning, right? He referenced the gigawatts. Let's run that back.
Watts known for shake the bug to the goggles. Vigilante city watch, dipping through the gigawatts. Known for
if you guys remember, he said Vigilante City Watch, right? What is that? Some sort of superhero? He's a vigilante, right? He's out here looking over his city with his homemade, cape on or something, right? Dipping through the gigawatts. So you can. For those of you that are of age, right? I'm 39 years old. I grew up with Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox, right? The secret to time travel back then, right? This is in the 1980s, was 1.2 gigawatts. They needed that much electricity, which is a large amount of power, right? So remember the eccentric scientist, Doc, right? Doc Brown. Basically he couldn't, I think he was trying to get plutonium or something, right? But they needed to be able to harness the amount of gigawatts. But the only way that they were able to do it was through that bolt of lightning, right? And that's the whole clock that they have. Again, without getting too much in detail, gigawatt is definitely a real measure of power. But a gigawatt, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not a science pro there, but I believe a gigawatt is 1 billion watts, right? Most of us know watts because we know a light bulb. A light bulb in our home is 60 watts, 100 watts, right? So if you had 1.2 gigawatts, you think about that would power 10 million light bulbs, or the flux capacitor, right? For the DeLorean, which they need. But the gigawatts, I'm pretty sure. The way he's using it, I believe, is a Back to the Future reference.
the bug to the goggles. Vigilante city watch, dipping through the gigawatts. Known for shaking sticks and playing chicken with the will of God.
Chicken sticks, that's like something old people do. I believe that's it. Let me know if you guys are interpreting that different. But, when I think of a stick, it's like someone, hey, Shani, get off my lawn, right? That's what I think of anyway. Playing chicken with the will of God. When you're playing chicken, you're normally you're trying to face something, go at something head on, right? You would play chicken like when you're driving, somebody's coming towards you, you're going towards them, and whoever swerves first, you're a punk. You also are alive, right? Kind of old school games before the internet. Things got a little bit weird, and we were doing death-defying stuff just to entertain ourselves. Playing chicken is one of those. So playing chicken, he's kind of playing his chances. He's almost like Russian roulette. A lot of people know, you take a revolver, you put in only a certain amount of bullets and you spin it. and then you have a 1 or 2 in however chance of killing yourself. Supposedly, click. Ha ha ha, I'm a man, you do it. Click. Now, right, now the odds, right, probability, the longer you go on, the more likely you are to die at this game and prove that you're a real man, right? Let's run it back a little.
Watch dipping through the gigawatts, known for shaking sticks and playing chicken with the will of God. It's not a drill, it's a village ape in a grid beyond the silicon. Same religion as Ram, Flynn, or Tron. Electric jockey for the hottest lap. Same religion as Ram. It's not a drill, it's a village.
Say it's not a drill, saying like, yo, this is not a test, right? If somebody says this is, let me turn off my phone. If somebody's saying this is not a drill, it's like, yo, this is not a drill. This is real shit about to go down. And I think that's what he's saying here, right?
Gigawatts known for shaking sticks and playing chicken with the will of God. It's not a drill, it's a village ape in a grid beyond the silicon. Same religion as Ram, Flynn, or Tron.
So that's Ram, Flynn, or Tron. If you think about that, I think he's talking about Tron Legacy, the movie. I don't know if any of you guys remember the movie. It was okay. It wasn't. That's right when I was born in the 80s, but I really grew up in the 90s. So that's like a little bit before me, but I did watch it. There's a lot of references in Tron to Buddhism. It's some with Christianity too, but a lot more with Buddhism. Again, see, I just said religion is not my strong suit, but movie trivia, things like that, I can get into. But I'm not an expert on Buddhism, also. But Ram, Flynn, and Tron were definitely part of Tron Legacy. And now the movie, at least my understanding of the movie, it's been a while since it's not something that I revisited at all. It wasn't really my thing. But the movie is more or less a metaphor, I think, anyway, between like science or technology in general and religion, right? I don't hold any religious affiliations at all, but just as the world progressed, right? It became more tech savvy. It really became more what you would consider secular, right? But so more or less, without getting into too much depth on Tron, the dude Jeff Bridges, I forget, he's Flynn in the movie. He's basically the deity, right, of the grid. And you hear him. I believe he references the grid here, but in the movie, Flynn controls it all. Let's run it back here a bit. Not a drill. Yeah, it's a village aping a grid beyond the silicon, and then he's referencing the grid. And the grid also ties into Tron.
Grid beyond the silicon, same religion as Ram, Flynn, or Tron. Electric bomber jacket, jockey for the hottest lap.
Electric bomber jackets. These are basically electric jackets. They're really similar to electric blankets. It's used by motorcycle riders when temperatures get really low. And think about like heated socks, right? But you can actually get an electric bomber jacket that ties into the mechanics of the electrical system of the motorcycle. But that's a lot of dudes, and it's colder. That's what they're when it's cold outside. That's what they're doing.
Religion is Ram, Flynn, or Tron. Electric bomber jacket, jockey for the hottest lap. I fight a different system every time I throttle brap. In yonder shadows, every
brap. That's the fight a different system every time I throttle brap. Brap is like I believe it's talking about like gunfire, right? I can't roll my R's, but I believe that's what when he talks about brap. But he's comparing it to the throttle. And
corner is a hostile act, southern system every time. Electric bomber jacket, jockey for the hottest lap. I fight a different system every time I throttle brap. In yonder shadows, every corner is a hostile act. Solid.
Yonder, you think of somebody saying, "Oh, down yonder," right? It's like some distance in the direction over there, right? Like people say, "Thoughts that hoe over there," right? Down yonder is just like when you're indicating a direction. It just means like that way.
System every time I throttle brap. In yonder shadows, every corner is a hostile
Hostile.
act. Solid black helmet, tracking bullets down the trolley tracks.
Ooh.
When every tree up in your eat every good dog piss. You don't need a reason to Knievel any drawbridge.
Ooh, yo, I like that. Listen to what he said, right? He said, solid black helmet. So he's definitely, we know he's on a cycle. I would definitely say motorcycle at this point. It just sounds too complex for a bike right now. So he's on a motorcycle. I guess it could be a moped, right? The Tom Cruisers or the Winona Riders, right? When I was young, I had a moped. And those in the Logan Square area of Chicago, those were two moped groups. I thought it was just cool wordplay, right? The Winona Riders or the Tom Cruisers. And, you know, I thought it was cool. I was going to roll a pack of cigarettes in my T-shirt like they did back in the Grease days. I'm not a smoker, not cigarettes either. But,
dog piss. You don't need a reason to Knievel any drawbridge.
like, I also like, he says, when every tree up in your Eden reek of dog piss. You know, your Eden is like your garden, right? The garden of Eden. So with every tree up in your Eden, so you know things in your life ain't worth shit, right? You have nothing to lose. I think is what he's saying. Everything in your life is shit. It's dog piss. You don't need a reason to Knievel any drawbridge. With Knievel, he's referencing Evil Knievel. Right, Evil Knievel was he's a stuntman, but he's also more or less an entertainer. But let me get my coffee in. Evil Knievel did a variety of like very risky stunts before there was a lot of protections in the world. Like he did almost 100 ramp to ramp motorcycle jumps. Now he's in the Motorcycle Hall of Fame. He actually died. I want to say right before the housing recession. So it was early 2000s he died, and I don't think it was related to like a stunt. I think he died of natural causes, but I'm not too sure. When he's saying you don't need a reason to Knievel any drawbridge, a drawbridge, I'm from Chicago, right? Chicago has movable bridges. Actually, I believe the most in the country. So movable bridges, it's so river, like we have the Chicago River. When you get a boat that's tall, the bridge needs to come up to allow those boats to pass. Now, Chicago has more drawbridges than any place, any other city in North America. And if I'm not mistaken, that's still true today. Only Amsterdam has more movable bridges in the entire world than Chicago. So it's something we're familiar with here. But you're talking about Evil Knievel. You're talking about him doing a motorcycle stunt where he's jumping a drawbridge, right? So he's talking about, when things are shit in your life, you push you don't have shit to lose, right? You push the boundaries is what he's saying.
Dog piss. You don't need a reason to
any drawbridge.
All in all things lawless.
Yeah.
Midnight Marauder, no off switch.
Midnight Marauder. That's interesting. He said call the Po, right? Call the Po, the police, 5-0, narcs, 12, right? Whatever you want to call them. He's talking about the police. Now the police, the Crown Victorias, I believe the slang name for those Crown Vics are Midnight Marauders, or it was like there was a variation of the Crown Vic, but I think there's there's some wordplay there, right? Midnight Marauders, that's a lot of people trace it back to Q-Tip, right? There's back in the day, the lyrics in the song Vibes and Stuff. If you guys are older, you might know A Tribe Called Quest, right? I believe that's what was it? Ali. Yeah, Ali said something really cool once, and he referenced the Midnight Marauders, and he said something like it was like looting, or like I used to always say, but dick in your ear, fuck with your mind. It was something like that, but he said it was like the sound thieves looting your ear. And that's what Midnight Marauder was. But it's a reference to A Tribe Called Quest. But I think it's also a reference to the Crown Vics, if I'm not mistaken. that the police use.
Black helmet, tracking bullets down the trolley tracks. When every tree up in your eater ring a dog piss. You don't need a reason to Knievel any drawbridge. All in all, I'm all things lawless. Call a pole, midnight, we're on a no off switch. Only ever slow as roll to free a dove. A rotograph is on one and poster peace and love.
You know, there's a lot of things that are symbolic in his references, right? Crows, ravens, eagles, you know, whatever. If you hear, you could either interpret it different ways. I like to read on dreams. So it's a lot of the same symbolism, but sometimes it can vary a little bit. It kind of sounds like he's saying like, yo, I'm still a gangster, but I'm not going to kill no dove, bro. Right? But what a dove is a symbol of innocence, gentleness, peace, right? And he said, only ever slow as roll to free a dove. So maybe he will slow down to appreciate some of the finer things, to appreciate love and peace in the world. He said, autograph his own wanted poster, peace and love, right? Peace and love, what does it used to say? Live, love, life, and soul, peace and love, motherfucker. Make love to the night, motherfucker. That's going to be my new sign-off on the channel.
Flawless, called a pole, midnight, order, no off switch. Only ever slow as roll to free a dove. A rotograph is on one and poster peace and love. I ain't think to leave a letter. Please don't cling to the vector.
Vector, it doesn't sound like he's talking about like a vector image. Or if somebody, you know, who's in marketing or graphic design, they might think of vector as like a stock photo or, but I think what he's referring to is more or less, like you can think of some sort of organism like a biting insect, like a tick, right? That's also referred to as a vector. They transmit disease, or you could think of like a parasite that goes from an animal or plant to plant. That's that's another way to use vector. Post a peace and love.
I ain't think to leave
a letter. Please don't cling to the vector.
I don't blink first ever.
See, I don't blink first ever. That goes back. He was talking about playing chicken, right? Playing chicken, like, you know, if I don't blink first ever, it's kind of like saying like, yo, I don't flinch, right? If we're playing a game and I'm saying who's going to blink first, I'll hold my pose, bro. I ain't go, you know what I'm saying? I'm not the one. You're doing everything you can. You're like straining, right? I'm not going to blink first. But it could also be like, yo, when you're playing chicken, that yo, whoever swears first, right? And I think that's what he's talking about. It's kind of like, I ain't never scared. I ain't never scared. Doom, doom. There's this old bone crusher.
Please don't cling to the vector. I don't blink first ever. I don't blink first ever.
What's a chord?
In sync with the specter. It's really
The
not
specter.
a thing you can measure.
A specter, like a ghost, right? I guess I wonder if there's another way that he's using specter. You know, because you could say, I've normally heard it as a ghost, but it could be something that's really feared, right? Like you could talk about something that's like a boogeyman kind of deal. I guess that could still be. I guess it doesn't have to be a ghost, but I think of something supernatural, some sort of boogeyman. You know, walking across a cemetery or coming across walking through a forest preserve late at night. Old what's the old boy's name? Old the long dude.
Rappers on one and poster peace and love. I ain't think to
Leave a letter.
Please don't cling to the vector. I don't blink first ever.
Cling to the vector.
First ever. In sync with the specter. It's really not a thing you can measure.
Is he talking about the other side? In sync with the specter, like not your creator, but it would almost be like something evil. At least that's my interpretation. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't have. I need my thesaurus, right? I don't know if I'm translating specter right. You know, again, I'm thinking of something that's feared. It's unpleasant. It's dangerous, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a ghost.
I don't blink first ever.
Listen for
Don't
context.
blink first ever. Dawn treader, green fog, Lincoln log wrecker. Gloves all king. Dawn treader, green fog, Lincoln log wrecker. Gloves all King Kong leather.
Bro. Don Treader, Green Fog, Lincoln Log Wrecker. Okay, let's try to break this down. Lincoln Logs. Am I the only one that's thinking of the toys that are kind of like Legos, but they look like logs and they fit together and you can build forts or whatnot? That's what I think of when I think of Lincoln Logs. It's funny, just random trivia. I don't know if you guys know Frank Lloyd Wright, famous architect, right? Builder, architect. He's out here in the Chicago area. There's a lot of homes that are historic homes now because of the way that he designed homes. So if you, not just in Chicago, but like in Oak Park, which is a higher end area of Chicago, you can actually do tours that you can go see Frank Lloyd Wright's homes. All right, he's a famous architect. Lincoln Logs were actually invented by John Lloyd Wright. He's actually the son of the famous architect. A lot of people probably don't know that. Let's listen to it again for context. This is surprisingly probably one of the more difficult songs to, like, I still don't really know the meaning, and we're a third of the way through. With some of the other ones, like Oh Fudge, right? What was the other one? Just going through his just going through Jazz Hands, right? Wolf Piss, Difficult. I kind of had a concept of what he was talking about. And this one, it could really go either way. It's still abstract, but I don't know that I understand what's completely going on. Let's run it back from the beginning. Right? Ooh, I would have killed this beat. Doom, doom. It's kind of
Canteen, can of beans,
no compass.
Add another bug to the goggles. Vigilante city watch, dipping
So
through
he's
gigawatts, no, but
so he's traveling, right? He's canteen, can of beans, no compass. He's on the road. He's traveling. He doesn't know where he's going. He's on a motorcycle. He said, add another bug to the goggles. He's been traveling for a long time. Vigilante city watch. Maybe he's cruising around the city. Bad shit is going down. Maybe he's looking over something. He said, dipping through the gigawatts. Sounds like he's just flying through the city, right? Imagine like Back to the Future, how they were flying to get the electrical connection that they needed, right? The amount of speed with the amount of energy together.
bug to the goggles. Vigilante city watch, dipping
through the gigawatts.
Known for shaking sticks and playing chicken with the will of God.
Yeah, so he's a vigilante. He's traveling across the country. He doesn't really quite know where he's going. Known for shaking sticks, right? So telling people what to do, or maybe overseeing them of some sort, disciplining them, trying to reel them in, playing chicken with the will of God. Maybe he's out there trying to stop crime, right? Maybe he's dodging bullets, playing chicken with the will of God, and traveling. He said it's not a drill. It's a village aping a grid beyond the silicon.
It's not a drill, it's a village aping a grid beyond the silicon. Same religion as Ramflin or Tron.
Buddhist, right? A Buddhist. So what do they stand for, right? Peace, unity. He's got this warmer electric bomber jacket on. He's trying to stay warm. Jockey for the hottest lap. Could be thinking of a jockey like that rides a horse, but I don't think he's talking about that. It could be.
My jockey for the hottest lap. I fight a different system every time I thrive.
So he is fighting a system, or he's fighting someone, but he's really going against a system, not a villain of some sort, right? It's not you like Batman fighting crime, but he's fighting a different system every time his throttle wraps. In yonder shadows, every corner is a hostile act. So maybe saying all these systems are built up. He could be talking about systemic racism. This album is from 2021, and I definitely got the vibe that like with jazz hands and whatnot, that he's talking about like civil unrest and problems, protests, and all the things that were going on in our world. It kind of seemed like the world was burning around you, right? At certain times, like the goddamn COVID, goddamn race riots, goddamn police brutality. Like, there's a lot fucking going on, especially when you're, I don't want to always turn it into a minority thing or not, but man, it was a really difficult time to be a minority over the last so many years. With the Donald Trump presidency, he had Hispanics on edge, thinking about the Dreamers and people getting deported, and or were they going to be able to keep their education, right? And COVID came, and people are worried about traveling between countries. People are worried they're going to be signaled out because they're Asian, or there's a lot of discrimination that's happening, but also with this last presidency, it's just people have really stood the ground. It's kind of like being in a prison and you have to choose your side of the yard, right? Yo, are you Mexican, black, or white? If you're white, you're over there with the skinheads. You're black, you're over there with the GDs, right? If you're Mexican, you're with the vatos over here. Choose your corner. Are you red or are you blue? And there wasn't a lot of in between, right? It's like, yo, you either love Trump or you hate Trump. But, like with me, I consider myself a common sense, independent person. Let me know all the facts and let me make a decision based on all the information that we have. But immediately when you don't agree with a policy, it's like, oh, you're just some liberal fucking Joe Biden lover. You fucking love Hillary Clinton. It's like, no, I just don't agree with this policy. I like other policies. But you have to, I don't wish, like I've heard somebody said that, hoping that a president will fail is kind of like saying that you hope the pilot on the plane crashes, right? You don't want him to fail because what it means for everything that you know and love. I think he's talking about fighting these systems, and we have to think back at this time, what was going on in the world? What was going on? Was Joe Biden now president? What systems is he fighting? I think we have to listen a bit more.
Electric bomber jacket, jockey for the hottest lap. I fight a different system every time I throttle brap. In yonder shadows, every corner is a hostile act. Solid black helmet, track a bullet down the trolley tracks.
Yeah.
And every tree up in your eat, every good dog piss. You don't need a reason to Knievel any drawbridge.
Yeah, because listen to that. He's saying, yo, if everything in your life is shit, is piss, right? It's just dog piss, then you don't need a reason to push the limits. You see these people protesting. I'm not talking about the rioting and the looting, but people protesting in these, what some would consider a hostile environment, right? Yeah, because you're not just, if you're protesting, you're immediately the radical left, right? People are saying, oh, he's Antifa, or he's a radical liberal, and they're rioting, they're looting. But again, people don't see when something happens like Breonna Taylor, like George Floyd, there's a hopelessness that you feel as a minority that this could happen to you. People don't care. It's like people are getting stopped by the police and legitimately dying, getting pulled over for something so basic. And yeah, there's a lot. If you look at some of my older videos, I actually have a video about what to do when you're stopped by the cops, right? What do? Lower all your windows, turn on the lights, and people are like, what? That's some fucking lame shit. I was like, phew, I'm not trying to worry about being lame. I'm worried about getting home, right? Why do you do that? Well, police, they do a few things. When they walk up for a traffic stop, they're always going to put their hands on your vehicle, so they leave a fingerprint, right? They know in case you roll off, they have evidence that it was you that they actually stopped. Now they have dash cams and body cams, but for years they put their hand on the back of your vehicle. Then they walk up, they approach the vehicle with caution. When you lower the windows and you turn on the lights, you can easily show them who's in the car. You can show them you're not a threat, and you have to move slowly. You can't just do the, oh, let me get you my wallet. I mean, you fucking bop, 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 right? This is the end of your life. But you got it. It's unfortunate because there's just a lot of white dudes and stuff in the world. You don't have to have this conversation, but when you have kids like I do, why do you think I got the chalkboard up here? And it's like, there's ways that you have to move in this world to be successful, and it's not like everybody else, and it's unfortunate, but that's just the way the world is. It might be lame, but you'll come home, hopefully, right? So it sounds like, let's bring it back here a bit, but it sounds like, he's in the fight. He's saying, well, we got a solid black helmet, track a bullet down the trolley tracks. When every tree up in your Eden reek of dog piss, you don't got shit to lose, right? You don't need a reason to evil Knievel. You risk your life because he said, I'm all things lawless. Man, call the Poe, right? Call the police. I'm a midnight marauder, no off switch. Only ever slow his roll to free a dove. So what are the few things? I talk about this in another video. I talked about my the one time that I kind of thought there's something more in the world than just us. Not necessarily a God with his all-seeing eye, but I had an incident where a tire blew on the side of the expressway. And before the tire blew, I saw a woman on the side of the expressway actually pulled over and slowed down. And then our tire blew when we were driving away. If I hadn't slowed down, our tire would have blew when I was going 80 miles an hour, and I could have flipped over with my friends. This girl, when our tire blew, I got out, and she was just nowhere to be found. And it just made me thinking, like, wow, if somebody truly knew me at that time in my life, one of the few things that I might stop for is a woman. Don't judge me, right? I'm trying to see if let's see how much of a ride she wants, right? I was, don't judge me. I was a teen. I was a frat boy at the time. I was a frat boy at the time, so that's where my head was. No pun intended. So I hear what he's saying, right? The only time he ever slow his roll is to free a dove, right? What does a dove represent? Innocence, right? So he gets involved. That's the only time I slow my roll, stop. Not just to smell the roses, but to get involved to free a dove. A dove doesn't do anything bad to anybody, right? Unless it's one of those creepy magical doves. There's something I don't trust about them, right? Like, what do you do when you're just in somebody's sleep? Are you just chilling? Like, what's up? Creepy. But anyway, so that's what he's saying. The only time I'll slow my roll is to free somebody innocent or to help something that needs help, or autograph my own wanted poster, right? Peace and love. He said, I didn't think to leave a letter. Please don't cling to the vector. I didn't think to leave a letter. I don't blink first ever. He's basically talking about he's not a punk, right? He's not a punk. He's not the type to flinch, in sync with the specter. Again, I don't know if that's something supernatural or whatnot because of my interpretation of specter. But he's saying like, he's in sync with a power. I just didn't see it as a good power. Maybe it's something darker and I'm just not catching it. But that's my interpretation, is a specter is something that you wouldn't necessarily want to interact with. So the fact that he's in sync with them, he's saying, it's really not a thing you can measure. It's a little dark, right? And he's saying, I don't blink ever. Dawn Shredder, right? I stay out all night. Green Fog, Lincoln Log Wrecker. He's got gloves on, all King Kong leather. Let's let it ride. Let's get back to it.
Dawn Shredder, Green Fog, Lincoln Log Wrecker. Gloves all King Kong leather. Underdogs on machines blinking ever. I seen hell and back, strong leather. Dawn Shredder, Green Fog, Lincoln Log Wrecker. Gloves all King Kong leather. Underdogs on machines.
Now, Green Fog, I don't know what he's talking about here because that could be interpreted differently. Again, I'm older, so my references are going to be, I'm thinking of Alfred Hitchcock movies. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. But first, if I'm doing this interpretation, I normally go with symbolism, because the other Aesop rock stuff, when he references birds, there's always symbolism there, right? So you think about like a dream interpretation or what a certain something means, like green fog. Green fog, if you're dreaming, means that you need, it's your need for love. It's not love itself, but it's saying like you're you need love, you need intimacy, right? But you need to continue to absorb knowledge, from your surroundings, your experiences. But it's the way I interpret it is like your need for love. Now, Dawn Treader, again, I think that's much easier. Like when you to tread is to walk on something, right? So you think dawn is early morning. So when the sun first rises, right? That's dawn. So if you want to think of it literally, you may say a dawn treader is someone who walks on the sunrise, right? But what in together, what does it mean, right? Like he's out sunrise. He's looking for love. He's exploring his surroundings. Lincoln log wrecker. Lincoln log wrecker. Maybe he's tearing down buildings. He's tearing down systems. All King Kong leather. That's on the right.
Machines blinking ever. I seen hell and back, still pink in the center.
What are you saying?
The dogs on machines blinking ever.
It's funny. He's talking about being an underdog, right? It could be like being underground, being someone that's underrepresented. But a lot of people, you might hear, if you have friends that ride motorcycles or they see motorcycles a lot, again, in the city, you see them all the time when the weather gets warm. But you might notice that motorcycle lights actually flash. There's a reason for that. It's not some electrical error, right? It's to let others know that they're present and to proceed with caution, right? Almost like a school bus has a flashing light on top, right? Or something where you can, it's easily recognizable. Because in motorcycles, they, think about it, they're exposed. They just need that extra precaution. You need to be able to see them and understand that it is a motorcycle. But a lot of people think it's an error when those lights are blinking. I wonder if that's what he's referencing.
Love's all King Kong leather. Underdogs on machines blinking ever. I seen Helen back, still pink in the center.
Ooh, so I seen Helen back, right? So he is talking about possibly seeing something evil or at least experiencing things in his day. Still pink in the center means he's still just right, though. Like, I've been to hell, but I'm still cool, right? I'm still pink in the center, meaning I'm good enough, right? I'm well cooked, but I'm also just a little bit raw, right? So I got the best of both worlds, right?
Some machines blinking ever. I seen Helen back,
still pink in the center.
Plank off a punk and jump a cycle at the ecosphere. He don't wear a cape, but if he did, no one would think it's weird. Pinky swear that should I go exploding in a springs and
Plinko off a punk. It's still in the center. Plinko off a punk and jump a cycle. I'm thinking of the game. All right, Plinko, isn't that the one on The Price is Right? I mean, I read something once that the price. Well, I don't know if it's Plinko off a punk. That's when you're bouncing between the little pegs, right? And then you have to fall into a certain hole. I was actually reading one day, and they said that they created that game. It's called Plinko because of the sound it makes. Plink, plink, plink. I was like, it's creative, right? Just somebody just like, oh, that's like, we're going to call it BAM, right? Or whatever.
Still pink in the center. Plinko off a punk and jump a cycle at the ecosphere.
So, he's talking about Plinko off a punk, like, I'm a bounce off a punk and jump a cycle. When you jump a cycle out the ecosphere, like he's talking about Evel Knievel almost again, right?
He don't wear a cape, but if he did, no one would think it's weird.
Yeah, he's talking about shit he does and he dips. He's talking about jumping a cycle. You're doing a stunt. He doesn't wear a cape, but if he did, no one would think it's weird. He's some sort of superhero vigilante, right?
Jump a cycle at the ecosphere. He don't wear a cape, but if he did, no one would
think it's weird.
Pinky swear that should I go exploding in a springs and gears. You loot the rings and gear and ghost the scene without a single tear.
Ooh. What did he say there? Pinky swear, right? You pinky swear with somebody like a kid. It means you can't break this promise. Pinky swear that should I go, right? If he's doing this death-defying stunt and he dies and I explode into springs and gear because I didn't make the jump, he's like, promise me that you loot the rings and gear and ghost the scene without a single tear. Whew! Oh, that's probably my favorite line from this so far. That's just so deep. Like, yo, promise me that you don't go getting all soft. If shit doesn't work out here and I lose my life, promise me that you gonna rob this bitch, right? You gonna get what you want, and you're gonna ghost the scene, and you're not gonna shed any tears for me. You're just gonna keep on moving on. Yo, that's sick. But how does it fit into more cycles, right? What is he? Is he talking about? He's obviously a vigilante, and he's risking his life because he doesn't have much to lose. But why, right? Is he? And what are these systems he's trying to break down? Is this a continuation of like jazz hands and what's going on in the world? Just promise me maybe if I, if something happens to me as I'm doing this, like, but why is it that I'm missing something here? But we're only halfway through the song.
Years you loot the rings and gear and ghost the scene without a
single tear.
I could hold a wheelie for a decade.
Wow.
Circle any burrow like a bird around a headache. Mercury in retrograde. Mercenary working through the Jenga scape. Body in a headache.
Yo, I just got done saying this. That was my favorite line. Then he comes with something equally as hard. I could hold a wheelie for a decade. He's talking about, I can hold my position in time. Like, I'm thorough with this shit, right? Like, I do this. Like, whatever it is that he's doing, he's saying, like, yo, I could do it forever. Circle any burrow like a bird around a headache. A burrow, in New York, there's 5 boroughs, right? That separate the different areas of New York. But by him saying, I could hold a wheelie for a decade. Circle. He's like, I can go anywhere I like. Circle any burrow like a bird around a headache. See, the references to birds, it's like he creates that imagery. And I think of death, right? I think of like vultures. When you see vultures, they'll circle because they literally smell death. They can actually smell decay. Or a lot of people interpret it. They say vultures and certain birds can plan when you're in a really bad predicament and they think you're going to die. They'll circle until you do die, and then they'll come and eat your body. It's actually funny because there's a little random trivia is that birds don't like to show pain. So even if they're very hurt, you'll see a bird still doing its best to make it. It's not because they're like super resilient. There's not a message there, but birds don't really show pain because it would make them very vulnerable to predators if they were injured. So birds will push on, and I wonder if that plays a part in this. Circle any burrow like a bird around a headache. They don't care, right? It's not that they don't care, but they hide it well, which it might be what he's saying. Like, I could circle any burrow. I don't really care about, or it could be any burrow like a bird around a headache because they smell death, right? They smell sickness or illness. So he could be circling a burrow in New York. Any burrow like a bird around a headache because he smells like there's going to be something happening here. Illness is in the air, right? Death is in the air. Yo.
Hold a wheelie for a decade. Circle any burrow like a bird around a headache. Mercury in retrograde. Mercenary working through the Jenga scape.
The Jenga scape is probably the city, right? Like the concrete jungle, the urban Jenga. Think about a Jenga, right? It's a game with, it looks like tall buildings. A mercenary is somebody who kills like for the military or whatnot, right?
A bird around a headache. Mercury in retrograde. Mercenary working through the Jenga scape. Body and the spirit going separate ways.
Ooh.
Message back from the other side of the end of days.
Oh, the end of days. That's like Jehovah's Witness talk. Yahweh, right? Body and spirit going separate ways. My God. Body and spirit going separate ways. Send a message back from the other side of the end of days. So the end of days, and again, the religious references I'm not the best with, but the end of days is supposedly when God returned, or he pulls his people that are true believers. A true believer, right? That's the what is that? Katie Cat and I forget the Christmas movie with The Santa Claus rock, the jailhouse rock and stuff. But anyway, end of days is where they pull all of God's believers and they sit with him in heaven, and everybody left goes to hell or becomes hell on earth. So to send a body and spirit going separate ways, send a message back from the other side of the end of days. So why he's on the other side.
Around a headache, Mercury in retrograde.
Mercenary working at the Jenga skate. They're going separate ways.
Send a message back from the
Other side to the end of days.
All it say is catch me if you can. P.S. The weather's great.
Whoa.
What the fuck is resting on the seventh day? I'm 7 days of levee breaking rain. Stay the hell away. I ain't think to leave a
Yo, there's a darkness to this, right? Because he's saying, I'm sending a message from the other side. And it says, yo, catch me if you can. P.S. The weather's great. Is he on the other side? Is he in hell? And he's like, yo, it's hot and it's beautiful here. Is it kind of the struggle to get in heaven or thrive in hell? Is that what he's talking about? Right? All it says is catch me if you can. Almost like he's talking to a reaper or so, right? Or, he's talking to somebody in heaven or heaven to hell. But P.S. the weather's great. Is that because he's in heaven or is he in hell? And he said, what the fuck is resting on the seventh day? Again, that's a biblical reference about when God created the earth, right? He did such and such, day 2, day 3. Then he rests on the seventh day, which is why people go to church on Sunday and why Chick-fil-A is not open, right? What the fuck is resting on the seventh day?
going separate ways. Send a message back
And on the other side of the end of days, catch me if you can. Here's the weather's great.
What the fuck is
resting on the seventh day?
7 days of levee breaking rain. Stay the hell away.
Yeah, he's like, yo, 7 days of levee breaking rain. That's like, you think of New Orleans, right? Or what? No, New Orleans. What did they say? I don't know if I'm saying it right. NOLA, right? Stay the hell away. So he's saying he's dangerous, right?
I ain't think to leave a letter. Please don't cling to the vector. I don't blink first ever.
I ain't a punk. I don't flinch.
In sync with the specter.
I'm in sync with my God.
Thing you can measure.
You can't even measure what I go
Blink
through.
first ever. I don't blink first ever. I don't turn down, scurry, get burnt out.
Yeah, see, he's talking about like, I'm not a punk, right? I don't blink first ever. Like, I don't flinch. If you were, who remembers that Kobe Bryant game where he's getting into it with dude, and dude tries to act like he's throwing the ball at Kobe, and Kobe's just like, I wish you would, right? It's that wish factor. But he's saying, I don't turn down, right? So he's always turned up. He said, I don't turn down, scurry, or burn out. When you scurry away, right? Or burn out. So he's saying, like, what, I burn at both. Learn them how we'll burn out. Let's see.
I don't blink first ever. I don't turn down, scurry,
Oh,
get
you
burnt
burn
out.
out.
I burn at both, learn them how I burn out, burnt out.
When you burn at both, right? They say, like, you burn at both ends.
The smell of burnt rubber turn a herb to a church mouse. With no words, only rack nerves and a furrowed brow. Ascension purping early, I'm a one-man world power. Whirlwind exterminating 1 world per hour.
Whoa.
Conspiracy of ravens under my authority. In chorus with regards from the king of the fucking corvity. Ay, Cleveland's under my authority. In chorus with regards from the
I'm a one-man world power whirlwind. Is he talking about, like, he's a god?
per hour. Conspiracy of ravens under
my authority.
In chorus with regards from the king of the fucking corvity. Ay, clear and present.
Corvity. Corvity is a family of birds, right? You're talking about like crows, ravens, right? These are it's a crow family. So a lot of people call them corvids, but there's a lot of species. I mean, you're talking about over 100 different species in this family alone. But he's tying that in. If you know corvids, you can tie that back to ravens.
Whirlwind exterminating 1 world per hour. Conspiracy of ravens under my authority. In chorus with regards from the king of the fucking corvity. Ay, clear.
Yeah, so he's corvids. They're like they're big brain birds, right? They have like social groups, but they're intelligent, right? These birds, Corvids specifically, they're known for using tools, right? They recognize human faces. I was reading something and they were saying that they have an understanding of some level of physics. And it sounds stupid because a lot of people are like bird brain. And I'm like, well, if you actually understood a little bit more about a lot of people always think of parrots, right? Because their ability to speak. But corvids, they say that corvids are, they're very close to like how apes are intelligent. So there's a level of communication that you can have with a corvid. It's actually well worth exploring, not on this channel, but on your own time if you have an interest in it. But he's tying it together, but he's saying something else here.
Whirlwind exterminating 1 world per hour. Conspiracy of ravens under my authority in chorus with regards from the king of the fucking corvity. Ay, clear and present, paranormal weapon. I'm a land speed record every second, check the method.
He's a clear and present. Normally you think of clear and present danger. Now he's talking about a paranormal weapon. Which also goes back, I guess he is talking about something that's like a bad ghost, right? Or something that you would interpret as bad, but he's talking about the paranormal here. I'm a land speed record every second, check the method. Also tying that back into like Evel Knievel, vigilante, motorcycle, bugs hitting his goggles, right? So he's painting a picture here. Really curious if there's a video for this. I didn't see one. But that would really help tie this all together.
Paranormal weapon. I'm a land speed record every second. Check
the method.
Check the letters an extension of the senses, intercepting information while it S around the lemons.
So, when you're S-ing around the lemons, it's like you would do on an obstacle course.
Letters an extension of the senses, intercepting information while it S around the lemons. In a letter sent from Mr. I will not be home for dinner. It was written, I will not be home for winter. A second letter showed up. Let's imagine we could open it together. I will not be home forever. This is NYC Untethered, yeah.
Yo, is that it? Yeah. That beat is tight too. Yo, this would definitely, I would say, definitely be one of the more challenging songs where I just didn't expect that. But it'd be more cycles. I was like, okay, moped, scooter, bike, kind of kick, push, right? A little Lupe Fiasco, shout out Chicago. But no, this was very much more detailed. But I can't help but think that there's a hidden meaning that goes back to the protests, to the rioting, all the craziness of 2020. It seems like this all ties together. But I'd love to hear some other opinions on how you guys interpret this and what it might mean. Like, clear and present, paranormal weapon. Like what exactly is he speaking of? Like you can say intercepting information. What did he say there? He said S's around the lemon, right? Around the lemons. Like, why would he say lemons, right? What does lemon mean? We can interpret different things. Like even at the end, right? He's writing a letter, and it's sent from Mr. I will not be home for dinner. Then I will not be home for winter, and then I will not be home forever. That's kind of hard in interpreting that. Is he saying that he's forever on the road? He's, wherever I lay my hat is my home face, right? But I'd love, this is one of the more difficult songs, but I'm hoping that I don't need to have a grasp on this before we jump to the next one, which is Flamingo Pink, which is track 9. But if you guys are a fan of Aesop Rock, I'm definitely becoming a fan. I love the trivia. I love the breakdowns with this. Make sure you show some love by liking the video, subscribing to the channel. But let me know in the comments section what you guys feel he's saying. This has definitely been one of the more challenging ones for me. And I think part of it is because of the biblical references as well. Because if you don't have an understanding of the religious references, you can kind of lose that context. But really looking forward to what you guys think.